G'day viewers. The other day I posted a video where I made a terrible mistake based on information taught to me many years ago. It's very simple. All EM waves generate photons. So I was wrong, and I don't like being wrong. No one likes being wrong. But if you're fed wrong information, you'll travel down a road that leads to a dead end. So we're back on the highway, highway of truth. So we'll start with a few things. We'll just deal with photons then. And, first, as discussed and agreed by most people, photons travel at the velocity of light, and I think it was Oliver Heaviside, based on Maxwell's equations, where he derived this formula here, and that depends on two factors: the permittivity and permeability in free space. And permittivity is the ability of a substance to store electrical energy in an electric field, and permeability is a quantity measuring the influence of a substance on the magnetic flux in the region it occupies. And the permittivity in free space is 8.54 times 10 to the negative 12 farads per metre. So there's a real value measurement, farads. Another real value is the permeability in free space, and that relates to the magnetic flux density. So that's in henries per metre, and it's 1.257 times 10 to the negative 6th henries per metre. So there's that there, you can have a look at that. So what's a photon? It's very easy when you take the correct perspective. A photon is a quanta of energy. A quanta of energy, that's pretty simple. It's a given amount of energy to a photon. Now that quanta depends on the frequency of the photon. So the higher the frequency, the higher the energy. A photon has both electric and magnetic components, and a photon is neither a wave, and it's not even a particle. It's not even a wavicle. Whoever made that wavicle name up, it's ridiculous. So, as I said, the higher the photon frequency, the higher the energy. A wave is what a photon does, not what it is. So, thanks to draft science and a certain unnamed professor that wrote me an email and corrected me as well. So now that we have that clarification on electromagnetic waves, yeah, I was taught that about it's over 40 years ago, and it always stuck in my head that low frequency EM waves didn't generate photons. Well, apparently they do. It makes no difference to any of my experiments, because they're all the lowest frequency I go down to in my experiments is probably around 650 nanometers. I use very intense light, very intense energy densities that are measured in easily megawatts per cubic centimetre. So anyway, that's the other page. So if you want to go and see Draft Science, he's got some pretty eye-opening views, and he's actually correct in how he draws out his little interactions between energy, electrons and photons, and he is correct. Along the electromagnetic wavelength of the ray, there are nodes, and these are what where he points his photons are out. in a given instance in time. So those photons are propagating out at the velocity of light, so they're always moving, and if you've got a single source, a single electron pumping out a single line of photons, they are an array. They will travel forever without losing energy unless they interact with something else, you know, like if they're absorbed or whatever. So I've taken the erroneous video out because one thing I don't like is mistakes. No one likes mistakes. I did make one there. It didn't make much of a difference to any of my work, or it just made a difference in perception of different electromagnetic frequencies, especially at the lower ranges. And he did make some criticism. I think he misinterpreted what I was trying to convey, or maybe I didn't convey it properly. Some electromagnetic waves, some do travel around the world, some really low frequency ones. Now whether that's an interaction with the metal in the Earth's core, probably is, I don't know. Some do actually travel ground waves, really low frequency, you know, 60, 70 hertz, and yeah, there is an interaction with the Earth's field. It's a very interesting subject, and it takes you a while to get your head around it, but I don't like these, I don't like using big words, or I don't like people that use pompous or verbose language. And draft science is pretty straight up there. He'll tell you fuck you if you if he thinks you're wrong, and yeah, that's a good thing. I understand it. I speak colloquial Australian, and if I spoke to him in such terms, I'm sure he would understand my language. We have a very rough language that we speak to fellow Australians with, especially if you're on good terms, or especially if you're on bad terms with somebody. The language we use would not be internationally acceptable by all these new age oversensitive people. You'd probably have me reported to the authorities, but yeah, it's all good. I've taken the other video down, as I said. I'm actually, you know, no one likes to be wrong, but the good news is now I can carry on my study with a corrected view. And for me mates out there, we've got some pretty interesting machines we'll be building in the next month. One of them failed the other day due to the intense energy. It just melted everything. I'll be putting a little post out to me mates on the on the results of that experiment. We've solved the problem. Is we're just going to pump the duty cycle, lower the average energy intensity. We'll still have the same energy intensities, but just for shorter bursts of time, and we'll allow the equipment to cool down. And you know, when you're working with stuff that's over 20,000 degrees Celsius, it's a little bit disheartening to see the machines that you spent so long building just destroy themselves. But there's no material on this planet that will put up with that sort of energy levels. So we've decided to lower the average temperature, and we're using time to our advantage, still achieving the massive energy peaks, but the average is going to be much lower. Anyway, so apologies to anybody that got the wrong idea from my video, and I enjoy watching informative videos. I don't bring religion or politics to my videos or my views on science. There's absolutely no room for religion or politics. It's this is science. This isn't a thing of mysticism. It's I just want to do pure science, pure physics, and its applications in the real world. So with that, cheers for everyone's criticism and support, and cheers to those people that had a look. And yeah, I was right on most things, but wrong on the actual fundamental presentation. So there you go. Have a good day, everyone.